Is there any value to sending a message to the world, especially given that all that's happened with foreign interference and attempts at foreign interference in our country, that this president in this country is not open for the kind of self-dealing that happens in other countries? Is that not an important message to send when you're inviting the world to come here to the United States?
No. What's your question?
Well, what are the chances the White House has chosen President Trump's own golf resort in Doral, Florida, to host next year's G7 summit of world leaders? The White House insisted, of course, the president would not profit from the meeting. David Fahrenthold of the Washington Post shares a byline in a report that says Trump's Doral Club is a major part of his portfolio. The Post reports, quote, it provides him more revenue than any other hotel or golf club, and he took out $125 million in loans to buy it. But in recent years, this Keystone property has fallen into decline, with profits falling 69% in 3 years. An expert hired by the Trump Organization blamed the drop in Trump's politicized brand. That's a euphemism. We are pleased that our good friend Rachel Maddow is here with us on the late shift. She happens to be the author of the new book, Blowout: Corrupted Democracy, Rogue State Russia, and the Richest, Most Destructive Industry on Earth. Our conversation about the book is forthcoming. First of all, welcome. Thanks for hanging out.
Thank you for having me.
Did things get different? Did things change today, do you think?
Today felt, I don't know if you saw the opening of my show today at all, but it came out differently than I intended it. Like I sort of intended it for it to come out like a kind of normal A block running through what happened. By the end of it, I actually had sort of rattled myself a little bit. I do feel like the wheels are coming off. For the energy secretary to resign, we've had 2 cabinet secretaries resign during the course of the impeachment proceedings already, one of whom, the current one resigning tonight, the energy secretary, does appear to be involved in the scheme at least a couple of different levels. We've got the White House chief of staff who was sent out today not only to make the yes, it was quid pro quo, yes, we did it, what are you going to make of it article, which was bracing, but then to take it back, simultaneously announcing this self-dealing, which is something more blatant than we've ever seen from any president in U.S. history.
I want to read you Walter Schaub, the former watchdog of this kind of thing, on Twitter tonight. In case it's not clear from my freaking out, this G7 thing is an escalation. It may look from the outside like it's been corruption all along, because it has been, but participating in a contract award to yourself is different by orders of magnitude. This is a red line crossed. Do you think we will see commensurate public reaction, or is this, as I keep describing it, that frog boiling experiment that is still kicking around YouTube?
You know, had they never said they were going to do this, had the president not previewed this, I mean, he floated this as a trial balloon weeks ago, talking up Doral and saying that it was the only property in America that should be hosting this. I mean, this was the summer at the G7. He was already floating this. And you saw the response, right? The response was people thought, oh, he's kidding. The president's supporters, oh, he's kidding. He doesn't really mean it. Democrats and other critics saying that would be a terrible thing if he did it. To float it, to have that reaction, and then to go for it feels like both an act of desperation and an effort to try to just sort of blow through what we otherwise might expect to be the envelope here. I do feel like this is a, make me do it kind of situation for this president. And to force the White House chief of staff out there to explain it. President Trump announces a lot of things himself. To instead make the White House chief of staff go out there, and there's been reports that he may be the person being blamed, he may be in trouble for some of these things internally in terms of how this impeachment is being mishandled so far by the White House, to make him go out there and announce it, yeah, it's going to be at Doral, and no, we're not telling you about the other properties that were vetted. Trust us, it's the best one in the country. And no, he's not going to profit from it. He's just going to do this at cost. And I mean, you see that like in mob movies, right? Like when you make somebody go out and use their face like that, it usually doesn't end up well for the person who gets used in that way, but it's a sign that they have to do it. You and I spend so much of our airtime describing the qualities that are behind the stories we're describing that night. What would make Mulvaney walk into that briefing room today
and set himself on fire like that? Is it an uber kind of gaslighting? Is it the Trump reaction where he often wants to own the very worst thing so it doesn't seem like the very worst thing 2 years from now? And for Mulvaney to come back and say it was misconstrued, it was construed.
It was construed. I mean, for him to specifically say, we did not make the aid contingent on the DNC server, when his exact phrase was, yeah, the DNC server. That's why we held back the aid.
What is that?
I am assuming that Mr. Mulvaney was essentially told to walk the plank. I do not think that Mr. Mulvaney didn't understand what he was saying when he first went out there and said, yeah, we did it. It's a quid pro quo. What are you going to make of it? Get over it. I think they maybe thought that this would be effective in the same way that the president sort of bragging about the things that are the worst things he's been accused of sometimes does work for him. It's not going to work for somebody other than the president. It's not going to work for the president much longer. And I think in order to stay close to this president, you have to show that you're willing to sort of proverbially kill for him. You have to show that you're willing to put your own skin in the game. You're willing to stick your neck out for him and essentially commit to the same kind of things for which he's being accused. I just don't think that it works for anybody other than this president. And you saw that when Mulvaney had to pull it back. And you see that in the hollowing out White House, the hollowing out National Security Council, the hollowing out upper echelons of even the cabinet, the State Department, the sorts of folks where you'd otherwise have other people who had brought other equities to bear. And they're just not there anymore. They're just gone.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.